Hey friends, what's up? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're well. Today, we're talking holy grail fragrances. Some of the best in the designer realm. And I've mixed in some newer ones along with some more slightly classic ones. Slightly classic, that's a clear definition, right? All of these are gonna be linked in the description below if you wanna check them out. And also a quick update on the JOMASHOP codes. Yeah, they only work within the app when they work. I know that they weren't working for a little bit. They should be okay now. So, yay. Maybe they can just stop trying to change those every 2 months, because when they do that, it screws everything up, but we'll see. So just letting you guys know, a few of you reached out to me that those should be taken care of. All the other codes are working as they ever have. All right. It's Holy Grail time. Now I do have to say that some of these are Holy Grail fragrances for different reasons. Kind of goes without saying, but there are a lot of different things in here. So some are gonna be Holy Grail fragrances for a particular reason or season. Others are just Holy Grail fragrances in the sense that I think they're some of the best that's ever been. And as I work through these fragrances, I'll let you know kind of which way each one of them goes. Let's kick things off with this one. Dolce Gabbana's The One Eau de Parfum. Yeah, apparently Dolce Gabbana has forgotten about The One, but I haven't. Dolce Gabbana, bring back The One. What's that? Nothing against K or devotion, but I think we would all like to have a little more The One in our lives. Am I right here? Just think about what they could do with that lineup. Let's go. But throwing it back to this one, The One Eau de Parfum. This is one of the best designer date night fragrances ever. I stand by that, and I think to this day, it still smells absolutely fantastic. Just a huge attention grabber. Yes, the performance is maybe not massive, but for this type of fragrance, I think it's perfect. Because you don't want something that's gonna choke people out. You want something that's gonna bring people towards you. That's what this does. Warm, spicy, absolutely magnetic, addictive. You have a little touch of citrus off the top, some fresh spice with coriander in the opening. Then you have cardamom, ginger, amber, and tobacco as the fragrance dries down. This is one of the best smelling designer fragrances ever. And yes, I realized that at one point in time it was extremely popular, and so for some people it became, not as cool because it was overplayed to an extent. But I'll tell you what, nowadays, this is not actually one of the best selling fragrances out there, which means far fewer people are wearing it, which means if you get it, it helps you stand out a little bit. Imagine that, talking about The One Eau de Parfum and saying, oh, it's not that crazy popular, so it's actually slightly more unique, but that's how it is nowadays. Dolce & Gabbana's best-selling fragrance is the original light blue. Then after that, it is K, the K lineup, Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum more specifically, which is apparently part of the reason they're not paying much attention to this line right now, but I still say, if they brought it back and did it correctly, it could be huge. After that one, Boss Bottled Absolute from Hugo Boss, a newer release. But man, this stuff is good. Really good. So Boss Bottled Elixir, I think that fragrance, fantastic. Like that was a next level release from Hugo Boss. Much better than I expected, frankly. And yet Boss Bottled Absolute, I like even more. It's a little bit reminiscent of like Carlisle from Parfums de Marly. Could also remind you, I guess, vaguely of Red Tobacco from Mancera, since Red Tobacco gets compared to Carlisle. But between the two, it's closer to the PDM because it doesn't have that like overt, aggressive explosion of everything that the opening of Red Tobacco has. That can turn a lot of people off, the opening of Red Tobacco. Carlisle, much more mature, classy, sexy, smooth. And that's kind of the direction this one goes. So even though it doesn't have an official tobacco note to it, when you smell it, you can kind of pick up tobacco aspects in the scent. Officially, it has incense, leather, patchouli, myrrh, cedar, and divana. But it's just an amazingly well done, very high-end smelling designer fragrance. And one of the absolute best releases, in my opinion, of 2024. The stuff is fantastic. Definitely fall winter time fragrance. And if you're a much younger guy, you may not go for it as much because it's not as sweet as a lot of other popular scents right now. But like I said, it is just good. Really really good. From there, we're gonna hop over to a summertime fragrance, Terre Au Givree. Now, they have just announced a new Terre or here recently anyway. That one is Eau de Parfum Intense. So we'll see how that one comes across. It's got lava stone as a note, so that's cool. Like, legitimately, I actually do think that's cool. That's something I like. Like, when you give me a weird, freaky note, I'm about that. Why I liked Imaginary Authors so much, because they have just weird notes in the fragrance that aren't like a normal thing you would expect to see in a fragrance. Designer brands, give me some more of that. I'm not talking about weird notes like wet dog, you know, maybe wouldn't go for that, but something a little weird, something that stretches your imagination a little bit. I'll take it. All right, back to reality, back to this. This is very citrus forward when you first spray it on. It's got citron in there, that's the citrus note, and it's gonna give you this kind of balance of tart and bright. So a little bit sour, just in the way citrus can be, but then also really fresh, zingy, and slightly juicy. Very appealing if you're somebody like me who really enjoys citrus in their fragrances. It's also wearable. Sometimes when you go too heavy with that type of citrus, people will be like, I don't really like this all that much, but it doesn't go that far, so it keeps things grounded. As it dries down, it's more of a fresh, woodsy scent profile. You know, it's gonna be a little bit reminiscent of some of the Terre fragrances that came before it, but it's not as potentially earthy or flinty, depending on which Terre we're talking about. So it ends up just being this very classy, but also easy to wear casually fragrance that is citrus and woods. A little bit simple, maybe, but extremely appealing, and one that you can just grab, spray, and go during summer, during the day or the evening, and it'll have you smelling great. Absolutely love the stuff. And I do like to bring up from time to time that Terre Au Givree crushed my fragrance, Terra Nova, for Fragrance of the Year in the Fragrance Foundation Awards. Very prestigious. I maybe have poked fun at the Fragrance Foundation Awards a few times, but well, let's pretend that didn't happen. But yeah, my fragrance Terra Nova was up. It was actually a finalist for Fragrance of the Year, and Au Givree won. To be fair though, it deserved it. That stuff's it's good. But yeah, my fragrances, which always hang out over here, are available at every Perfumania and fragrance outlet store in the United States. Also on their websites. Also on Nordstrom's website. Also on Michael Miller's website. Also on Fragrance Net's website. There are a lot of websites. Terra Nova, Jet Black Enigma, West Loop, Edgewater, South Slope. All of those available. And I like them because they're mine. What do you say we talk about another fragrance? Yeah, let's do that. Let's get a little elixir going here. Guilty elixir from Gucci. This was a little bit unexpected. Gucci Guilty is a line that does catch the occasional stray. It's a line that people do so enjoy sometimes to tear down as being too generic. Just very easygoing, versatile, clean fragrances for the most part. Now, I actually am a big fan of a lot of Guilty fragrances. Some of them I'm not, to be fair, but I kind of vibe with the aesthetic. I kind of go with this like just easy wearing, clean smelling fragrances that pull compliments. Like I know what they are, right? And it doesn't bother me. But Guilty Elixir came out and the quality was bumped up, which I guess not a surprise because it's an elixir at the end of the day. And most of the time with these elixir flankers, it's kind of what you expect, right? The pinnacle of the line. But yeah, this stuff was just really almost like a niche fragrance, how it came across. And I hate to say that because that does get overplayed, niche quality and everything. And it is reminiscent a little bit of something like Reflection Man from Amouage. So you've got a lot of orange blossom in here. It's gonna give you this soft, you know, velvety white floral aspect from the opening, really carrying down into the dry down. You've got a little pop of fresh spice in the opening, gives a nice balance to those white florals. You've got a rich, smooth vanilla in there as well. Nice sweetness, but not overly sugary or anything like that. Then a very pleasant iris and touches of resins as well. Very good performance here, great longevity, huge projection. So you do get a lot for the money that you spend because it is kind of expensive. You know, it's touching 200 bucks and then it's a smaller size bottle. It's also got some similarities to Pegasus from Parfums Marley, closer to Reflection if you're going like a one-to-one, but honestly, it's kind of like taking bits and pieces from each of those fragrances, Pegasus and Reflection, and popping it together right here. So it's a really interesting designer release, great quality, great performance, nice compliment factor, good versatility, pretty much everything you look for. And frankly, if we're talking about what most people are gonna be wearing, it's gonna set you apart. Let's go with another newer one, Paco Rabanne Invictus Parfum. This is a great interpretation of the Invictus DNA, that Invictus style. Now, I'm a big fan of Invictus Victory Elixir, especially Victory Elixir. I think those are absolutely fantastic if you like vanilla in your fragrances, which I do. But Invictus Victory and Victory Elixir smell absolutely nothing to me like what Invictus is or was when it was first established, right? Talking about the original Invictus, the DNA that was set forth that moment that, hey, this is Invictus, this is how it smells. Now, I was never the biggest fan of Invictus, but it was big, still is big. Look how many fragrances came after that one that tried to copy it, right? So Victory and Victory Elixir, while I love them, not really Invictus. They are in bottle shape, but in terms of fragrance, they're kind of their own thing, right? But this one brings it back to what Invictus is/was, and it does a really good job. It's soapy, clean, fresh. Another one that's magnetic. You smell this in the air, smells amazing. It's got that aquatic Invictus aspect to it. It has that bubblegum sweetness as well, but it's reined in a little bit. It's balanced better. And so instead of just being something that smashes you over the head with sweetness and more sweetness, you get those other aspects of the fragrance coming through, which makes it a little bit more interesting. So in terms of the overall note breakdown here, it does have those aquatic notes like I mentioned. It has a soap aspect as well, musk, cashmere, lavender, pink pepper, violet leaf, little sandalwood as well. A lot of people will find it a little similar to Invictus Legend, but I think overall Invictus Parfum is superior. And for me, my own personal taste, if I want something in the Invictus line that has that Invictus DNA, it's this one. Also, I like the bottle, looks cool. We're gonna get expensive with this next one, tobacolor from Christian Dior. One of the big reasons people may not be as keen on this one is the price point. Like I said, it's expensive. For a 100 ml size bottle, you're gonna be paying about $330 for this one at full retail. That's before tax or shipping, so it goes up from there. And it's one of those fragrances that you typically can't find for a really good deal from discounters either. So that's a bit of a bummer, because at the end of the day, what this is not something like a crazy, unique, niche fragrance trying to push boundaries and break molds and things like that. What it is an extremely appealing sweet tobacco fragrance that I happen to love the way it smells. It's just, like I said, pricey. So in terms of notes, it's got like a multifaceted approach to tobacco. There's white tobacco, there's tobacco leaf, there's honey, smoke, plum, amber, peach, and a little bit of citrus. So you get this really nice opening that's a little bit fresh in terms of the fruit, but then also deep as well because of the plum that's in there. It's saturated with honey, kind of sticky sweet to an extent, with that nice wafting light smokiness throughout. Another one with great performance as well. The main issue with this one, as I've said like 2-3 times, is the price. Is it worth it to you for essentially just a very pleasant, cozy, sexy, sweet tobacco leaf? And then at the same time, there are very popular clones out there that get pretty close to it for like 10% of the price, so there is that. But just in terms of how this smells, I love this stuff. I think it's fantastic for fall and winter. One of the better, easy wearing tobacco fragrances out there. Ooh, this next one, it's not gonna exist that much longer. Or I guess technically it already doesn't. It is YSL's Y Le Parfum, which has been discontinued and is being replaced with Y Le Parfum 2025. I don't have the new Y Le Parfum yet, the 2025 iteration. It was only officially announced, I think like a week ago or something as of when I'm filming this. It will be easy to tell which is which because this version, the original version, is all blacked out, black bottle, black Y and everything else. The new Y Le Parfum 2025 has like the silver Y on there, and it's kind of like a dark blue bottle, it looks like. So it's not gonna be something where you get confused and you're like, oh man, I don't know which one I'm ordering here when I'm looking online. If it's all blacked out, original. If it's not, it's gonna be the new one. That's mainly for people watching in the future. So with this one, it is one of those deals where if you really like it, you want a backup bottle, or you don't own it and you wanna get this version, you probably should get it sooner rather than later. It's already not available at retailers, but you can still find it at discounters. So just be aware of that. YSL changing things up again, and it does look like it's gonna be a completely different fragrance. That's how they're approaching it, that's how they're promoting it. The note breakdown is different, so don't hold your breath that the new Why Le Parfum is basically gonna be the same as this one. It looks like that's not the case. So what's the deal with this one, the original Why Le Parfum? Well, it's a little bit similar to Why Eau de Parfum in terms of how it comes across. It has off the top apple, grapefruit, ginger, aldehydes. You've got lavender, sage, geranium as it dries, tonka, cedar, olive, and patchouli in the base. So it's in that same wheelhouse as Why Eau de Parfum. It's got that same kind of allure, that kind of compliment factor that so many people are after in their fragrances. Extremely versatile, leans a little bit more toward fall and wintertime use. Not quite as sweet as Why Eau de Parfum. It still has that sweetness in there, but this one is slightly more mature, a little bit more elegant in terms of how it comes across compared to the EDP. It's a little bit more aromatic as well, great projection, just an overall fantastic fragrance. If you're looking for a blue scent that is a little bit elevated, great stuff. And also discontinued. So let's go with the newer one, Eros Energy. Now this one is really for citrus lovers, okay? If you hate citrus and fragrances, at least used in a very prominent way, you're not gonna like this one most likely. Because check out this note breakdown in terms of citrus off the top. It has lemon, lime, blood orange, grapefruit, bergamot, and mandarin orange. That is a lot of citrus. Then as it dries down, there's pink pepper, amber, black currant, oak moss, musk, and patchouli. And this one, I feel like, especially as we come around to summer this year, is really gonna be fantastic for a lot of people, myself included. Because last year it came out at the wrong time, really. It was like after summer, and then this one dropped, which just, okay. If you're gonna hit us with the citrus bomb that's really made for like late spring through summer and maybe early fall, as we're starting to head into winter. Not really great timing there, but you know, whatever. And I believe as this one drops in price at discounters, which Eros fragrances do, this one is still one of the newer ones, of course, so it's gonna be a little while before it really drops closer to like Eros Flame and some of the other ones. But as that happens and it becomes easier to pick up by more people, it's gonna be one of those ones that becomes a great go-to summertime staple. And for myself, like I said, I'm already looking forward to wearing it this summer. It has drawn some comparisons to like a Invictus cologne in terms of how it smells. To me, it's not super close. It gives you like some similar vibes when you first spray it on, when you hit that opening, but not close enough that I would say, oh, just get this instead of a Invictus cologne. But it could remind you a little bit of that fragrance, which is not really a bad thing because that one smells really, really appealing. If you get something that's a little reminiscent of it, you know, that's okay with me. Let's go Chanel next, Pour Monsieur, and my bottle is low. So with this one, you've got lemon, vanilla, lavender, a little bit of vetiver and nutmeg as well. A really good atomizer. Oof, that's how the bottle gets empty so fast. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's very masculine, gentlemanly, touch of sweetness, but nowhere near as close to most everything else coming out nowadays. And look, I don't hate that. I love sweet fragrances, but I'm saying sometimes, you know, switch it up a little bit, give me something like that. It's got a nice, bright, clean, citrusy opening, but then it has this residual warmth that just kind of stays there through the mid into the dry down that gives it this cozy feeling while still being easy to wear, frankly, year round. Nice daytime or evening scent. Probably will appeal more to guys middle-aged and older, but it's a great release from Chanel that doesn't really get talked about quite as much anymore. And last but not least, Scandal Le Parfum. Now, Scandal Absolute, that's my jam. I love Scandal Absolute, smells great, but I really like this one as well. It has definitely more of a grown-up aspect to it. I've said that about a few of these here today, but that's just how it goes sometimes, where you have one release in a lineup that's like clearly the elegant release, right? And this is a little bit more of that. It still has a nice sweetness to it. Not as much as Absolute, but still enough. Good amount of tonka in here. A little bit of creamy sandalwood underneath that. Geranium, technically the only top note here. Another one with just fantastic, stellar performance. Lasts a long time. Projects really well. To me, if you really love fragrances that are in that more vanilla forward style that's very popular right now, but you want something that's maybe not quite as forceful with how that sweetness comes across, that has a little bit more of an elegant touch to it while still having great performance, with a nice bit of an aromatic edge to it, you should check this out. Really, 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 really good. So there we go, guys. There are some fragrances that I feel like are holy grails for one reason or another. Some are more specific, like Eros Energy, if you love citrus for a summertime scent, especially as that price drops, or tobacolor if you just want a very nice, sweet, wearable tobacco leaf that's done at a high quality. Others, like Bottled Absolute or Wile Parfum, I feel like are just some of the best fragrances in their style in the designer realm. I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me here today. I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird. I am still getting over the pneumonia. Stay safe out there, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.